So hello guys, and welcome to another episode of Question Block. And the last question was, what are some games that aren't on Nintendo Switch Online that you'd like to see added to the service at some point? So yeah, there are a lot of games on there already, but there's a lot of games that are weirdly missing from the service, even from the platforms that have been receiving games over the years. So yeah, in this video, I'm gonna read the responses to that question from last week. So, Giant Rash said, "It's weird that we have Super Mario Land 2, but not the original Mario Land on the service. Would love to see it added someday." Yeah, I find it weird that it wasn't a launch title when they put the Game Boy library on the Nintendo Switch. I know Super Mario Land 2 is the better game, and there's more things to do, so it kind of makes sense why that would be a launch title for that service, but it's weird that the original Mario Land wasn't on there as well. It would have been nice to see both on there since the library was really limited from the start, and it's really weird that it's still not on here, even after quite a few months. They even added like a couple, or at least one licensed game on there before they added Mario Land with that West the Camelot game that they added on there like a week ago. So it's weird that they've added that before Mario Land, but yeah, we'll just have to see. Hopefully it will be added soon, maybe with like the next batch. But yeah, the Max625 said, "Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland is my favorite GBA title. That would be a great addition. Tetris Attack is one of my beloved SNES games, but I'm not expecting it since the original Japanese Panel de Pon is on NSO. Donkey Kong 64 would be great for the Nintendo 64 service, as would Beetle Adventure Racing, or even Smash 64. I also low-key dig NBA Live 99. As for Game Boy, Super Mario Land and Donkey Kong 94 sounds good. For the Game Boy Color, I'd like Wario Land 2. While we're at it, all of the Wario Land, Donkey Kong Land, and Game & Watch Gallery games will do on the NSO service." Yeah, I think all of those games that you suggested would be pretty good or interesting additions. Nightmare in Dreamland, I haven't really seen that many people bring it up, because I have heard it is kind of like underappreciated, I'd say, for a remake. Most people kind of tend to go with the original version of Kirby's Adventure, as well as like the 3D Classics version on the 3DS. But yeah, Nightmare in Dreamland, it would be nice to see it on the GBA library, like along with Amazing Mirror when that eventually is added on there. That would be great if they kind of put both on there, similar to how they added the Super Mario Advance games together, or also the Mario Party games on the Nintendo 64 service. And then the other thing you were saying with Tetris Attack, I actually could still see that happening, since Puyo Puyo and Kirby's Avalanche are both on the SNES library. So I could see them adding Tetris Attack on there, even though Panel de Pon is already on the service. I think both can kind of coexist on the platform, since aesthetically they're different, even though they're basically the same game at the core. And then there is another kind of Puzzle League Panel de Pon game on NSO with Pokemon Puzzle League on the Nintendo 64 thing, so I don't really think Panel de Pon on the SNES library would rule Tetris Attack out, but yeah, I could still see it happening. And then Donkey Kong 64, that would be great as well. I know it's not for everyone with that game, but I have been wanting to play it. I actually have a physical copy of the game, but I don't have the Nintendo 64 expansion pack. Not the service for Switch, but the actual expansion pack for the Nintendo 64. So I can't play my original copy of the game that I got a while ago. But yeah, it would be cool to see it added, since it was on the Wii U Virtual Console. I never got around to buying it on there, but yeah, maybe I'll have to emulate it if they don't add it to any of the services. So, Beetle Adventure Racing, I've heard of that before, but I assume it's like, more obscure game. But that would be cool to have some more, like, interesting obscure games and everything. Personally, I'd like to see like Cruisin' USA. That's not super obscure. I mean, that is pretty well known, but it's another racing game that I like on the Nintendo 64, so I'd like to see that at some point. Smash 64, I'm kind of surprised that they haven't announced that already, since it is a very popular game, and it functions very differently from Smash Ultimate, obviously, so I don't really think there's any, like, conflicting things with that game being on there, so, and it would also be really fun to play online as well. So I'm surprised that Smash 64 wasn't announced for it yet. And then you also mentioned NBA Live 99, which is a pretty interesting pick. They actually are starting to do licensed games now. I mean, there was like GoldenEye added to the Nintendo 64 service, which is actually a great licensed game. But then there was also Quest for Camelot, which was not very good. So I feel like we could really get any licensed games at this point. Like, not even like the memorable ones, like basically any of them at this point. And then with Game Boy, like, I already mentioned Mario Land earlier, but Donkey Kong 94 would be great. I'm surprised, like, that wasn't announced either, since that is a pretty popular Game Boy game. So yeah, and it's basically like the spiritual predecessor to Mario vs. Donkey Kong, and also the spiritual successor to the arcade Donkey Kong games. And it's pretty fun overall. It's a pretty fun puzzle platformer, so I really want to see it added at some point, as well as the Wario Land games and the Donkey Kong Land games. I feel like those would be great additions. And then, like you said, Game & Watch Gallery, there's a lot of possibilities for, like, even the original Game Boy and Game Boy Color library, but for some reason they really aren't delivering with that library, so I really hope they add a lot of those more memorable games sometime soon. So yeah. So Ant4 said, I would love an English translation of Animal Forest for Nintendo 64 Online. That is pretty unlikely, because Nintendo doesn't usually do translations of games if they aren't like a full-on remake or like separate re-release like Fire Emblem, but I still think that would be really cool though. Realistically, they would only add it to like the Japanese service for Nintendo 64, but it would be really cool to have like a translation of Animal Forest on Nintendo Switch Online. You already have to pay like $50 a year to get that service, so I feel like it would be nice if they did provide like some interesting things there, like with basically the original version of Animal Crossing getting like a full translation and everything. That, I think that would be really cool. Very unlikely, but it would be a nice way to kind of make this game more accessible to like audiences like around the world, and also the West in general, so that would be great to see. So Arcade Smash said, okay, simple answer, Urban Champion. Every time I go to play it and remember it, it is not there. I just get upset. Nintendo needs to add that quickly. Yeah, I am very surprised they haven't added Urban Champion on there yet. It was actually on the 3DS with the 3D Classics line, and I don't think it was on NSO anywhere else. I'm not sure what's holding it back from being added on NSO and everything. I'm not sure if there's anything in the game that's like warranting it not being on NSO, so pretty weird that it's not on there. There's definitely a few NES games that are weirdly not on Nintendo Switch Online. One that I kind of find weird that's not on there is the Mysterious Marusame Castle, which is a Japanese exclusive game originally that was on the 3DS Virtual Console and is referenced in quite a lot of games. It was referenced in Mario Maker 2. I think it's an assist trophy as well. It was one of the mini games in Nintendo Land, and then there was also like a whole campaign and like one of the, I think it was like a Dynasty Warriors game or something like that. There was like a whole campaign based on like that one Famicom game. So yeah, it's kind of weird that Marusame Castle isn't on Switch Online yet. But yeah, I would like to see both Urban Champion and that one on NSO. And then another NES game. So yeah, on the topic of that, Soshi says, Duck Hunt. Need I say more? Yeah, that's definitely another memorable one that isn't on Nintendo Switch Online yet. I know it kind of is understandable why it's not on there, because it does use like the zapper for the NES and everything. And they had to work around that on the Wii U to get that to work. I think it I'm not sure. I haven't played it on the Wii U Virtual Console. I'm assuming it used the pointer, but I think they could maybe find some way to work around that. I'm not sure. Maybe kind of emulate um the zapper or something. I don't know. Like I feel like they could work around it in some way. Maybe even use the touchscreen in some way. I don't know. It like they might have to do something weird to get it to work, but I think it would be nice to see Duck Hunt on there, especially since it's a very memorable NES game, because it was bundled with Super Mario Bros. And everything. That's one of the most common copies of Super Mario Bros. That you find, like, anywhere, is with, like, the cartridge with Duck Hunt. So, yeah, it would definitely be a nice game to put on the service. So, Master Green Jay said, I definitely want to see Gen 1 through 4 Pokemon games. I never played any of the old Pokemon games and missed my chance to buy them from the 3DS eShop. Yeah, that's one that I've been wanting for a while as well. Kind of surprising that they haven't really said anything about like any mainline Pokemon games on NSO yet. They've been adding spin-offs a lot. Like they added like Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Stadium, the trading card game, Puzzle League, but like no word on any of the mainline Pokemon games like Gen 1 through 4 at all. Like not at any of the Pokemon Presents or anything. It's pretty weird since I feel like they could also have like Pokemon Home compatibility and everything, and it would definitely kind of increase like the sales of Nintendo Switch Online due to how popular these games are. Maybe they'll like just straight up release them separately on the eShop, because who knows, maybe their home functionality would require them to be off of the service, but I don't know. It's pretty weird that they aren't on there yet, and I do really want to see them like at least ported to the Switch or added to NSO at some point. So, James50 said a bit of a stretch, but Perfect Dark, DK64, Diddy Kong Racing, and Conker's Bad Fur Day, especially as they are classics, and Conker's Bad Fur Day is very pricey nowadays. We have Banjo and GoldenEye, so these rare games are not impossible to get. Yeah, they are able to get the rights to a lot of these rare games, or are able to collaborate with Microsoft to be able to put them on there, which is nice since we have like GoldenEye and Banjo and everything. So I think that's pretty cool that they did that. Donkey Kong 64 and Diddy Kong Racing, I don't think they would really require much to be added to the service in terms of like licensing and everything. Well, at least Donkey Kong 64. Diddy Kong Racing, maybe because it has like Banjo and Conker in it, maybe they would have to get Microsoft's approval, but yeah, but it would be really nice to see like either Perfect Dark and Conker's Bad Fur Day, and then all the other games as well. And also Banjo-Tooie on top of that. Though the only thing that might be holding some of these games back is due to the age rating that Nintendo set, because it is like rated T for the library, so I'm not sure if that kind of means that some of these games aren't able to be like ported onto the service due to like their original age ratings and everything. But yeah, it is kind of unfortunate that it has that like one barrier that kind of does make it a little unlikely. Because I do, like, in a perfect world, we'd have all of these games ported to the console, but yeah, it's pretty weird that, the way that they've said it and everything. I just really love to see, like, any of these games at some point, especially Diddy Kong Racing, because personally, I think that's better than Mario Kart 64, because I have played, both the Nintendo 64 version and the DS remake of that game. I guess it's kind of like a remake thing on the DS. I think it's almost as good as the Nintendo 64 version, aside from the fact that they removed some of the characters. But yeah, I'd love to see like any of these games added at some point. So finally, Fawful the Great 64 said, "Really want Mario vs. Donkey Kong, so much nostalgia playing through that fun puzzle platformer, and sadly that series completely threw out that gameplay style for all of the sequels on later systems. Well, hopefully we'll be back at some point, we'll find out soon, but yeah, if I may be so bold to raise the possibility of licensed games, it would make my childhood if they could put the GBA versions of SpongeBob SquarePants Super Sponge, Revenge of the Flying Dutchman, Battle for Bikini Bottom, and the movie game on Nintendo Switch Online. Nobody ever talks about these versions, but they're responsible for so many fond memories of my childhood. They are all fairly inoffensive 2D platformers that probably don't hold a candle to Mario games, but aren't horrendously bad either in my opinion. They don't deserve to be forgotten. Some other licensed games I remember enjoying are Hey Arnold the Movie, Robots, and Finding Nemo. The GBA was that one system I played a lot of licensed games on before I was really a dedicated fan of the Mario series. Sadly, most of the time these games are forgotten, especially if they also had console versions. Yeah, I'll talk about your point with Mario vs. Donkey Kong first, but yeah, I'd love to see Mario vs. Donkey Kong on there. That's definitely one of my favorite GBA games, as well as like, I know I was talking about like DK94 earlier, which was one of my favorite Game Boy games for the original Game Boy, but yeah, they're just really fun puzzle platformers overall, and it's really cool how they kind of expand upon the original formula from arcade Donkey Kong and kind of make it something really special. So, and yeah, it is kind of sad that they haven't returned to that original style of Mario vs. Donkey Kong in DK94. Hopefully that rumored game ends up bringing that back, but we'll have to see. But yeah, and then with the licensed games, that was actually kind of confirmed, like I mentioned earlier, since like Quest for Camelot and GoldenEye kind of confirm that licensed games can be added to NSO. Even though some of those are unlikely, it would be nice to see like some licensed games on there. I know that they would be kind of weird. Some people, not everyone would like them being added, but if they were added like along with some like major games on there, like Kirby or any of the Mario games or anything, I think it would make a little more sense to kind of throw those in alongside something bigger. But yeah, licensed games technically are confirmed, but it would be, I guess it would be a little bit difficult to get some of them on there due to like obviously licensing, but yeah. So anyways, those are some NSO games that all of you would like to see. There's definitely a lot of potential for things that they can add, especially on Nintendo 64, the original Game Boy and Game Boy Color libraries, as well as the GBA library, since a lot of those are missing quite a lot of games so far. But yeah, so anyways, the next question is, what is your favorite eShop exclusive Nintendo game, including Wii, DSi, 3DS, Wii U, and Switch? So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Amazon affiliate link if you want to. Goodbye.